if we're going to say, and I'm sure, John, you're one of the people that would say it, if we're going to say that Emery's team won the FA Cup, that was Klopp's team that won the Premier League.
Hello, everybody. This is Over the Line, the football debate show by fans for fans. My name is Davo. If this is your first time here, welcome. But if you've been here before, welcome back. Joining me on the show tonight, we have John, Liverpool fan, Kunle, Arsenal fan, and Gavin, Arsenal fan. No Cyril this week. I believe, Gavin, you may have got onto him a bit too much and he's in his feelings. I don't know. He tells us that he's not available this week. Don't know the real reason, but guys, he's not here this week, but he will be back. Gents, good evening.
He says he never hides.
Yeah, it says he never hides, but he's not here this week. Anyway, gents, good evening. How are we? John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you, brother, man. Thanks for having me back on.
No worries.
Looking forward to today's conversations.
Kunle, how are you? How are you, brother?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. Can't complain.
Yeah. And Gav, good to see you on screen from the start this time. How are you, man?
Thank you, brother. I'm good.
Yeah.
John, how's the cataract? Is it cleared up or everything all right?
We good, baby. We good, man. Let's just get into it.
All right, lads. So it's going to be a bit of an action-packed episode this evening, and there's only one place that we are going to start. Okay, John, this one is for you. So here we have Slot and Klopp, the current Liverpool manager and the previous Liverpool manager. Okay. Reason why I bring these two up is the question that I'm throwing to you right now is who deserves credit for winning the title for Liverpool this season? Because the reason why I bring this up, okay, is it's been a theme online at the moment where Arteta, the Arsenal manager, is retrospectively having his credit taken away for Arsenal winning the FA Cup in his first 6 months in the job, I believe. What's being said is that it was Unai Emery's team, the manager that got fired, and he took over that job. So my question to you, John, is I'll let you have the first crack at this. As you can see in the ticker down the bottom, Liverpool's only major signing last summer was Federico Chiesa on a free transfer. He went on to make just 6 appearances for you guys in this last season. With this in mind, John, who deserves credit for Liverpool's triumph? Is it Klopp or is it Slot?
Do you know what? Yeah, this question, there's a lot to this question, and it's fully loaded. You know, and it's interesting that there's actually 3 Arsenal fans on this panel against one Liverpool fan. But we won't get into that. I'm not here for that. I'm just here to have a nice, gentlemanly conversation about football. Now, one thing about football, you get what you deserve. You get what you deserve. And what I mean by that is, in fact, let's take Arsenal, because I know this question involves Arsenal in some kind of type of way. Let's not try and do semantics. Let's talk the talk, yeah? You've got Arsenal, who amazing team, by the way, amazing history, and their manager is Mikel Arteta. I won't use any.
Our trophy's golden.
No comment. And you've got Klopp's Liverpool. Now, one of the differences between their 2 entrances into their jobs is Arteta, I believe, took over Emery's team in the October.
I think it was December.
Oh, December that year. Yeah, December that year. And Slot came in a transfer window, essentially, in the summer, right? And he was able to kind of like build with that team, get that team cooking, put his kind of imprint on the team. Now, there's an argument, and this is why we're here, lads, because we're here to conversate and have arguments, constructive arguments, I should say. Now there's a with Arteta now, he's coming to a team that you could, okay, granted, you guys weren't doing what you were meant to be doing. There was a lot of unrest with the fans. The team wasn't performing on the pitch. But you could say that Emery had a plan. And despite whether or not how you guys as Arsenal fans felt about that plan, he managed something. And what he managed to do was, I believe the season prior was Baku. Am I right in saying that? Was that the season prior before Arteta came in? Yeah. So he managed to somehow get this non-functioning Arsenal team to a Europa League final. Now you could argue that that team was a level of quality that Arteta had walked into. Yes, you're going to talk about the unrest with Aubameyang and kind of all the kind of, as we all know, it's all been documented what was happening at Arsenal at the time of Emery's managerial like stint. But with that being said, I believe that what the difference between Arteta and Slot was that Arteta was able to go into the team mid-season and just almost kind of continue, arguably, the manager's work. And somehow he managed to take that said team to an FA Cup win. Now, kudos, well done. You've come in, you stopped the ship from sinking. We love it. We're here for it. But what Slot has done, I'm so glad, David, you mentioned Frederick Chiesa, because I think that almost rubber stamps the point that I'm about to make. He was like, my man, he's going to be for us for this season. It's all right. He can sit on the bench for this season. He can just rest. I think I can work with the 14 or 15 players that we've got here. And he managed to somehow not only take that team, he almost put his imprint on that team. Because we know when we watch the Liverpool team, it's not the Klopp team of old. It's not. I think it's more refined. A bit more, not still, but a bit more pizzazz. That vavavoom. What Arsenal used to have back in the day.
I'm sorry, more vavavoom than Klopp?
Not more vavavoom, but just more control, more style, a bit more elegance. It wasn't, the gen pressing that we're used to and that rock and roll football. He's managed to go in and rubber stamp his footballing style, what he wanted from his players on that pitch, and he's taking him to a league title. Not only that,
so in your opinion, then, in your opinion, you're saying it all credit to Slot.
110%. All credit to Slot.
All right, Gav, I'm bringing you in now. Gav, what's your take on that?
I've got a bit of an analogy. So we were talking about buses crashing last week, which was interesting watching that. So I've got a bit of an analogy. Guys, we're all grown men, had romantic relationships, or we've at least seen our friends in situations that we may not have lived ourselves as well. Have you lot ever seen a guy that's with a woman and she's madly in love with him, and then one day he decides, you know what, I've had enough of this woman. She's not giving me what I need. I don't feel fulfilled. I'm going to move on and start a new relationship. Or just be single for a bit. Get in the gym, start looking slim, get a bit of a tan. You know what I mean? Come back to a press conference in the summer where she's at and tell her kids how to behave themselves because they're getting onto one of the elders, aka Trent. That's what I see Klopp as. He's that boyfriend, and the ex-girlfriend is all these fans that are just disrespecting him, acting like he ain't done nothing for them when he brought them life, he brought them greatness, he brought them from the dark pits of hell. There'll be no sunglasses right now. There'll be no do-rag. You'll be like Roy Evans' life, bro. That's what you lot will be living right now. We seem to forget where Liverpool was before this. And the thing that gets to me is that I saw Liverpool fans almost crying tears when Klopp was leaving. I reckon some of them did shed tears when Klopp was leaving. And did you? Mad.
Of course.
And then the new boyfriend comes along. The new boyfriend comes along, rents out a little Beamer for the weekend, hires an EP, shows you little bits and glance.
He didn't get a Beamer. He got Frederick Chiesa, bro. He got a Fiat.
No, the Beamer was what he used to drive you lot to the Premier League.
Oh, bro.
Yeah. But that was Hyde Park on a Sunday when there was no one there anyway. Like you lot was there by yourselves anyway. It was quiet. Do you know what I mean? Did a little cheap date. Got you lot something nice, a little glitz, and you know what I mean? A little something shiny, and you lot forgot about the ex. He ain't do nothing for us anyway. Klopp built that team. Klopp created what you lot are standing on right now. Klopp created what Slot had. And the thing that gets to me is people say, or not even people, you said how he changed things, he tweaked this, he tweaked that. Do you know the mess he left us in? Do you know the football we was playing when we had Lundberg coming as well? These were dark days, bro. Dark days. Even Lundberg said, I can't do this no more. You lot need to sort this out. He told the board, you lot need to sort this out. And then my manager,
Before you finish that point, Gav, I just want to jump onto that. Remember the Watford game where we faced something like 30-something shots from a Watford team that got relegated that season, I believe, or were in a relegation battle? This is what we were dealing with when Arteta came in. 30 shots against Watford.
And then, he came in, Mikel came in, and he won us the FA Cup. He did everything against what later on became his philosophy. He changed the way we played football. He worked to our strengths. I'm sure it was around the time everyone said, why is he putting Aubameyang out there? Why is he doing that? But he brought us a trophy. Yes, he needs to win more trophies. That's a different conversation. But if we're going to say, and I'm sure, John, you're one of the people that would say it, if we're going to say that Emery's team won the FA Cup, that was Klopp's team that won the Premier League. And one observation I made before I finished, what I want to see is what your boy's like when he's under pressure. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, he went up and told the referee that he was in problems if he lost the Premier League. Man was sweating. We had an injury table fuller than my family's Christmas dinner. Like that table was full. Injury table was loaded. And he was stressed because of one game. I believe it was Everton. You didn't even lose. You drew, if I remember rightly. And he told the referee that he's gonna run up on him if he lost in the Premier League. So I want to see what happens. He's really stressed out when everyone's really on top of him and he finds out what the English Premier League is really made of. Because that was Klopp's team.
Yeah, I agree. Kunle, I'm going to bring you in here. What's your take on this?
Yeah, this whole Arteta, he won it with Emery's team. I hear when I used to hear that, I used to laugh because so many people were so. I think especially when it comes to Arsenal, so people are so quick to try and downplay or throw shade that some of them even actually forget Emery didn't manage one game in the FA Cup. They seem to think he was somehow because that's why I was thinking when it has it part on part, has it half and half for Emery's team. Emery did nothing in the FA Cup. Arteta literally took it from the first game, I think usually round 3 or 4, and took it all the way to the final.
Round 3's in January. Round 3's in January.
Yeah, exactly. And also, when John said that he took us to Baku, yes, he took us to Baku, and then we got slapped for the world to see. And I think people have forgotten the states that he left us in. Like Gav said, the state he left us in before he left. He had things like, I remember when he had Terrera as our number 10, doing absolute madnesses. And even for the Baku friendly that you're talking about, he sacrificed fourth place for that final because the things a week before we played Crystal Palace and he made a bag of changes and everyone was like, what's he doing? And then we went and lost. This when Zaha was on one. So when people try and discredit what Arteta did and how you can see even changed his tactics. He went with a back 5. He never wanted to do that, but he saw the players that he had and he thought this is what we got to do to make the final and win it, and which we did. So yeah, I see where if you're gonna not downplay the credit that Arteta gets for getting Arsenal to that final with that team, then you have to do the same for Slot. Because yes, Slot did change things because it wasn't rock and roll football. It was way more controlled. There was a slower tempo, and for some of the fans that I know, Liverpool fans that I know, at first they didn't like it. They didn't like the slower pace because it just took a while to get going. But it was still, whether people want to admit it or not, it's still built on the foundations that Klopp set there. And you still had Van Dijk, you still had Trent, you still had Salah, you still had Alisson. We're not talking about a bum team that Slot inherited. If you go and look at Arteta's first team, there you'll see some bums,
Yeah.
and he managed to get gold with them. So you have to give credit to both, but yeah, you can't to try and discredit the Arteta. But then, and I also say it's Chelsea fans will try to use the same when they won the Champions League. So I say, and they give Tuchel high praise, but I'm sure it wasn't that Lampard's team.
Yeah.
But they
Correct,
never.
it was.
That's never spoken about. Oh, it's Arteta. So that's how I see it.
John, I'm going to come back. Before we move on to the next topic, I'm going to give you the final word on this. Is anything that the lads have said, have they changed your mind at all in any way?
If I'm honest, no, because like the reason why Slot does deserve the credit, despite the gentleman's like protest, is because am I not right in saying that when Arteta came into Arsenal, there was probably a 2-season period where you guys weren't even sure the type of football you guys wanted to play. You weren't even doing certain bits. Like you were fans who were arguing with his style of play and how there was no idea to it. It was all on the right side at one point, and there was no kind of mix up. Whereas Slot's gone in there. What's that? Sorry, Gavin?
You talking about Arteta's style of play?
Yeah. So there was like at least a 2-season
Who are we
period.
talking about? Emery or Arteta?
Arteta.
You're wrong. You got your facts wrong.
Arteta. Yeah.
In that December when he came in, he went to a back five. We were playing counter-attacking football pretty much, like United style.
Yeah, but there was no identity to so the way you guys have played for the last 3 seasons.
That was for half a season. That was for half a season.
There was at least 2 seasons. So there was at least 2 seasons where Arsenal fans were complaining about his style of play. In fact, there was no style of play from certain Arsenal fans. So
I don't agree
in there, and he's managed to put his imprint on this particular team from, you could argue, from scratch. Yeah, this is not to take nothing away from Klopp and what he did with said team, but that still said team didn't win the league. In fact, we're reminded time and time again, he only won the league once. He only won it under COVID. Now, guys come in with the fans in his face every week on his back, winning game after game after game, and he's won us the big one. I'm going to show this every week
in a low quality season. In a low quality season.
No, it's good. Like, you show your medal, have all your I'm personally, I reckon yes, Slot deserves the credit, but Arteta deserves the credit for the FA Cup. And going back to your Arsenal fans were complaining, the only thing I remember us complaining about distinctly was us consistently playing out from the back, because Arteta was drilling it into the players from the first full season he had that this is our style of play. The style of play you see us playing now, he's been doing. So I don't get this 2 seasons out of what, 5?
Oh, he's been there for 6, right?
No.
He's been there for 6 years, no? This is it's going into his 6th season then, correct? With Arsenal, Arteta.
He started in December 2019.
This will be his 6th season.
Yeah, this is going into his 6th season, right?
This will be 6th full season.
Yeah.
So, but to be
for the
fair,
first
I
year-
do agree with with Gavin. The complaints weren't. I'm not sure where you heard these complaints, and that's one thing that annoys me as well. People do Arsenal fans. Oh, Arsenal fans said this, and it's just one guy that they know, but somehow that one guy is representation.
I heard it.
As much as I didn't.
I heard it a lot, and there was a lot of fans on big platforms talking about Arteta's style of play, and I will gladly do research and show you like fans complaining about Arteta's style of play, and it was an issue for a lot of fans.
Respectfully, we have the loudest fan base, and a lot of the loudest people in our fan base, they don't understand football, and so you can't really take what they're saying. There are better platforms out there, especially in 2025, that you can learn what's really going on.
But I use my eyes as well. No, but I use my eyes as well, and part of me agreed with what they were saying at the time. It was a bit like, where are you guys going? Where's the direction?
That's why you got the sunglasses. Cataracts made you think that he was a better manager than Arteta.
No, this is only for trophies, baby.
You can't see properly, bro.
Only for trophies, baby.
All right. Okay. So last one on this then, John. There's no shift in your opinion. You're giving all the credit to Slot, and that's fair enough. So we're going to move on to the next topic now. Okay, and that is the Club World Cup. Okay. It's currently being played at the moment. I believe it's being held in America. And the question that I want to ask is essentially, is it prestigious or is it pointless? Now, the reason why I ask this, okay, is I believe for the most part, Americans don't really take football or soccer all that seriously. So what I'm about to say next can be maybe, that can be sort of explained as to a contributing factor. But Chelsea just played in this tournament, I believe, yesterday against LAFC, an American team, in a 71,000 seater stadium. I believe it was the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There were 50,000 empty seats. Okay. I've also heard rumors that FIFA had been having issues with fan buy-in for this competition. They were having to give tickets away at a reduced price, possibly even free, thousands of tickets. Okay. So, Gav, I'm going to come to you first on this one. The Club World Cup. What is your opinion on this tournament in its current itinerary? Is it prestigious? Is it pointless? What's your views on it?
So I'm trying to get my facts straight. You remember the Super League? Madness. Who was it that was really against it? Was UEFA that was really against it, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
I was watching something and I completely agreed with what it said. UEFA were there fighting against it. You had the Gary Nevilles of the world and the media in England anyway. I don't know what the rest of Europe was like. Outraged by it, fans protesting because they were bored in COVID. But I think FIFA just sat back and been like, hang on a second, this could actually work. And from my understanding, the Saudis have got a big play in it because we know they're printing money. So they've funded the zone getting the rights to the event. And we know obviously with the zone and boxing, that makes sense. That link makes sense to me. And then FIFA have given Saudi that World Cup all of a sudden. So I think based on that bit of information, it makes sense. Is it prestigious? I think it will be if they carry on funding the money, putting the money into it. And I don't think the teams that are in it think it's pointless because you're getting like 20 mil for just winning a game. I think it was, or something stupid. Like the prize money is crazy.
I think just for appearing in a tournament, they receive like, I think it's 28 million just for appearing in it.
I think you get win bonuses though. Every game you win,
well, yeah,
you get I'm sure it's double figures in the mills for a win because they're trying to encourage teams to go for it. Because obviously the Chelseas and the Cities and PSG moving mad. They could just come back and just chill, like treat it like an exhibition game. But they actually put some money on the table. I can't remember the exact figure, but you do get a big amount of money every time your team wins. So I'm not gonna lie, if Arsenal were in it, I'd want to win it, and I definitely would love the fact that we're making so much money out of it because it's just all going to go to the transfer kitty or to the Cronkies buying another American football team or something. I don't know.
So you see it as prestigious then?
I think it will be. I don't want to call it pointless. I think it's one of them things where it's new. People don't like new. A lot of teams aren't in it. Do you know what I mean? Especially in England. If you're not a City or a Chelsea fan, you're going to be hating on it. But if Chelsea or City do win it and they get all that money and they get another trophy in their cabinet, I'm going to be jealous of that team. So I wouldn't call it pointless personally. But I think the format it needs looking at because teams getting drummed 10-0 is pretty.
Yeah, that's a good point, wasn't it? It was Bayern Munich versus that Auckland team from Australia.
Yeah, that's what's going to cause problems. But then that can happen in the World Cup proper. So it is what it is, really.
So I've just brought up some figures in front of me, which is why I was looking away from the camera. Apologies for that. So according to sources being Google, in the group stage, they get for a win £1.4 million. For a draw, I believe it's 739,000. So that's where that comes in then, where you've got that incentive to actually go out and go for it because there's pretty much $1.5 million on at stake for per win.
How many group games is it?
I believe it's 4 teams in a group, so that's 3 group games per team.
maybe there's a total of 20 mils available. Just I don't know, but there's a lot of money on the table, and then 100 mil for a team that wins it, I believe.
Yeah. So again, small stats here is that for reaching the final, you get 30 million with an extra 10 million added for actually winning that final. I believe, I think when you look at all the figures, the winners could potentially earn up to 100 million.
Yeah. And it's majority European teams as well. So like
Yeah.
the likes of Madrid are in it.
Okay.
And it-
Kunle, what's your thoughts on it?
I ain't watched one damn game, and I don't plan to until it gets to the latter stages, because that's when the actual, let's say, that's when it gets serious. That's when the more established teams will more than likely face off against each other. I think it's still a prestigious tournament. I think obviously the old way it used to be like 4 teams, wasn't it? It was, and
I think
that's,
that
I remember
version is still in
Man United.
existence.
Remember when they left the.
I think that version is still in existence, but that's played at
Which one's that?
Christmas. I think that's the
World Club Cup.
the World
Is it
Club
the same?
Cup.
Because I just remember the one when yeah. So what's this one? Club? Well, what's the difference? I don't know.
So this is the Club World
it's so much
Cup.
about money.
Yeah. So this one is the Club World
is
Cup.
all- it's all-
I
it's
believe
all
it's going to be
about
held
money.
every 4 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But either way, it's all about money. They try
Yeah.
to they're trying to make it like, it's about being prestigious. Obviously, I think if you win it, no one's gonna. The team whoever wins it, they're never gonna say no to an extra cup on their mantelpiece. Another something to show, showing armpits, as you know, I like to say. But overall, it's all about the money, and the way this tournament has been organized. I don't think they've fully thought it through. Because I know obviously that game that you referenced, the Chelsea game against LA. A lot of I've seen other podcasts and some Americans have made comments in there, and they've said basically the reason why it was so low, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everyone's working. It's like they didn't, because most games, obviously, because like when it's the World Cup, more than not, most games are like in the evening, so most people can come to see it. Yeah, they did this smack bang 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and yeah, definitely about the pricing of tickets. That's definitely true from what I've heard. So people, they're struggling because unless it's like one of the big teams, people aren't really turning out. So, but obviously, it's one of those. If you're in it, you would want to win it. But I think the way they've sort of arranged the tournament needs to be looked at, because obviously people have started to notice that certain teams there's no Liverpool, there's no Barcelona, because of the way they've done it. In terms of I think it's your history within Champions League for Europeans, but at the same time, they've also, like Messi's Inter Miami, technically they shouldn't actually be there because they didn't actually win they're not the MLS champions, but they basically use like an alternative route to get them in. Because obviously, if you have Messi, more numbers. So overall, I think eventually it will become more prestigious and people take it more serious. But I think right now, for me, I just see it as more money, and yeah, my interest is very low. I'm yet to watch a game, not even the highlights, and those only last 3 minutes. So
Currently a glorified exhibition.
Yeah.
John, what's your opinion on it?
My take on it is a little bit different. When you have too much of something, the one thing you do have loses its value a little, and I feel this is a little bit like with the Club World Cup, like with the Nations League, when there's just all of these competitions, and it's just like, to me, it loses, everything seems to lose its shine a little because there's another thing to win. Do you guys remember the Cup Winners' Cup?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? Huh?
Of course we do.
Yeah, no. I'm not even throwing shade. I'm not even throwing shade. I'm not even throwing shade. But do you remember that cup? And that cup, like, one of the reasons why it was scrapped, because no one was feeling it. No more. I think they brought out the UEFA Cup, because I think they changed the name, and then they made the Champions League bigger. So the Cup Winners' Cup, just, if you know what I mean. And this is part. Look, I'm all for football. I love watching football, but I want to watch quality football. I think, Kunle, you mentioned, in fact, it might have been Gav. That team that lost 10-0, I don't care how of a professional you are, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. They don't care what level
But to
of
be fair,
football
they
you
weren't
play.
professionals. They
No,
they weren't
I
professionals. They
know.
were
They were like,
amateurs.
some of them were part time. Yeah, I know. But still, as a professional outfit in front of the world, no one likes watching a game where one team's winning 10-0. It's not fun. That's why you're not watching it. That's why we're not interested in it. If you know what I mean, you know. So for me,
Mm.
it's a bit pointless. It's just another competition for us to get our teeth in and kind of lay claim to. Now, yeah, I think it was God that said this. Like, if your team wins it, you'll be happy. They've got a trophy. Does it really mean anything in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. Probably like Portugal have won the Nations League twice now, right? Did anybody care? Did anybody care?
No.
Like, really? Did anybody care? Do you know? It's like
Mm.
I'm just, yeah. It's
I
just
do think there's too much. There's too much football. Like once the season
100%.
was over, to go again, and it's not even like it's a small tournament. This is a big tournament, and obviously everyone goes, "Oh, players get paid enough," but some of them you must feel this is. Imagine just going again and again, and then they go do. Then you have the regular season, and then the World Cup straight after.
Mm-hmm.
So some of
Bro,
these players are not going to get rest for straight 2 years.
bro, if you're a
That's
top
insane.
footballer, if you're playing elite football, you're playing 65, about average 60 games a season.
Mm,
That's
mm,
playing every league game, getting to the final Champions League, final FA Cup. I think it's like 66 games. I think that's insane. And then you got to go play another tournament just because. And then we wonder why our players break down during the season as they do. And we've seen that. Like, there's a lot of injuries, and I don't think this level of football is going to be good for football in the long run. You know,
Mm.
there's no way for people just like disinterested with football these days. I'm not sure if you guys feel it, but there's a little bit of a dissatisfaction with football at the moment. You know, and I
Do
think
you
this
guys
is
really feel sorry for them though? Like, honestly,
mm.
I get it, but then the same
I don't say I feel. I don't say I feel
yeah,
sorry for them. But what will happen is that when the season starts, your club will be the one who's going to feel the after effects of what they've been doing. Obviously, our clubs are
it's,
not in it, but in it,
it's a
the Man City,
Chelsea.
it's a balance though,
yeah,
right? Because
it's a, but it's their balance. It's oh way. Oh, 'cause don't forget.
I hear
Remember, the
what you.
Nations League just finished. We just had the finals, and now we have another one. So if you think
Mm,
like say Bernardo Silva, he just done the whole
Mm.
Nations League, got to the final, played that, and he went to extra time. Now he's going
Mm-hmm.
straight to USA. Now he's going to do another tournament, 3 games in the group stages, quarterfinals, semi-finals if they get there. Then he might have what's his break? 3
2
weeks
weeks.
of that. Then pre-season, and then the season starts in August.
Mm.
Because
that
remember, if
sounds
you get
like
to
a
the
job.
final semis,
That sounds like a 9 to 5 life. I'm not gonna lie. And you looked after these
yeah,
men are
9 to 5
massage.
life, but
Huh?
yeah, but the body. No, I'm not saying I feel sorry, but what I'm saying is the body can only do so much. Remember, this is physical. This isn't
Facts.
one where I'm doing. I type with my hands. This is literally your body day in day out, and this is when the
Mm.
hamstrings are busting, all that stuff. Because
You,
you say this, but if Arsenal are in it and Saka goes down, you'll be the first to say,
yeah,
"Why
I'll
are
be
we playing
fuming.
that stupid
I'm,
competition?"
I'm a passionate fan that's like not thinking. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to be devil's advocate in it, but like, if you ask Bob and Terry that are on the scaffold 52 weeks out of the year, 5 days a week, rain, hail, sleet, and snow, like, it, if they wanted to be a footballer and play ball, how many games did you say, John? 60 odd
Mm,
games, 60 odd games a year. Okay, that's like just over once a week, and then
mm,
you get your massage, you get the best treatment physically, you get looked after, you get treated like a better than a baby for the whole year as well. Like, I don't know. I get what people are saying about. I think there's too much entertainment. I think it's devaluing it. I kind of agree with
Mm.
that. But as far as the players, I kind of feel like they should be at this. The club should be able to set themselves up, i.e., which is a problem we had, is having a squad big enough to facilitate if you are going to do all these tournaments, and which is what I think. When people say, "Oh," so for example, going back to Arsenal again, like I think we need to buy 2 strikers, two. I'd get Gyökeres and Sesko if it's down to me. And people will say to me, "Why are you going to do that? How are you going to facilitate?" Blah 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 blah. I think teams need two players of high standards in each position because of the amount of games. Instead of having Eddie Nketiah and well, we have it, which we need were really top class if we're being real. But if you got two top class players like City did, that's why they'll clean up the League Cup every season back when they did, because they had a team good enough to play in the Premier League as a backup team. And I think that's where we're heading. We're heading. There's more money in the game. There's more games to be played. So everyone just needs to bulk up their squads and deal with it.
I agree with you on that point. I do believe that's where football is heading in terms of it's no longer a starting 11; it's more of a squad game. But before we move on to the final topic, I just want one-word answers from each of you. Okay, Kunle, Club World Cup, prestigious or pointless?
Right now, pointless.
Gavin,
But it could be
prestigious or pointless?
I'm gonna go prestigious.
John, prestigious or pointless?
Pointless.
All right. I'm gonna say it's pointless the years that Arsenal won in it. Right, moving on. So final topic of the day, Kunle. We're gonna start. Kunle, did you start the last one, or was it you, Gav?
Kunle.
It was Kunle. So Gav, we're gonna start this one with you. Okay?
I started last.
You started the last one. All right, Kunle, we're gonna start this one with you, buddy. So what we have on screen here is Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay. Reason he's on screen is because he has brought into question the credibility of the Balon d'Or. Okay. What he has said, and I'm going to have to read this, is that he has said that the Balon d'Or has lost its value. Okay. And that he believes that it should be reserved for the player who has won the Champions League. Now, what I find interesting about this is I've done my research, as you would expect. And Cristiano Ronaldo won the Balon d'Or in 2013. Do you guys know who won the Champions League that year? It was Bayern Munich. Yeah, Bayern Munich won the Champions League that year, but Cristiano Ronaldo got the Balon d'Or, which kind of goes against his statement of what he's just said now. Kunle, I'm going to come to you. In your opinion, A, is Ronaldo a bit of a hypocrite? B, the Balon d'Or, is it losing its credibility? Keep in mind what happened to Vinicius Jr. last year.
I wouldn't. It is a little bit. I mean, first of all, in terms of Cristiano Ronaldo's statements, yeah, obviously he's saying this now. He probably forgot that well, to be fair, he's won a lot, so it's hard to remember every year you win. But yeah, for me, I feel that the Ballon d'Or is. I don't think it's about what you should win, because sometimes you can be you could win the Champions League, but you might not have been the best player in your team to actually win it. Someone else could have been stepped up, but then when you look at your collection at the end of the season, you've got the Champions League, you've got a league. I just think it's about the performance across the whole season. Well, everyone's got their own version. Obviously, if you win the Champions League and you're like a star player that led your team there, that just adds more credibility to you actually winning the Ballon d'Or. I think overall, it's slowly started to lose its value when just remember when it was always Ronaldo, Messi, Messi, Ronaldo, Ronaldo, Messi, Messi. It's just basically going between them two when there were other players who had good years.
Yeah.
So wasn't it losing its credibility then, really? Because
I remember a season when Lewandowski should have won it.
Exactly, he should have won it, and they didn't do one.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "Why? You could have easily done one," and because he was the best player that season. So
yeah,
I mean, it's always up for the debate who should be the Ballon d'Or winner. I think just if you win like your league, you win the Champions League, and you're instrumental in your team getting to those finals, winning those cups, winning those leagues, then it just adds more weight to your argument that it should be you. That's why, like, even this year, I think it should be Dembele, really.
Yeah.
Because he literally carried. Obviously, the league is the league, but in the Champions League, he turned up, and he turned up at important times, as we saw to our own cost.
Yeah.
But overall, it's slowly starting to lose it, and the way obviously certain teams act against like how Vinicius Junior, when they thought he should have won, and he didn't, and then they decided to boycott the whole event. But I always think, who does the voting for the Balon d'Or? Is it
I believe
players?
it's journalists and coaches.
Yeah, that's the thing. So sometimes it's hard to. I don't care about the journalists, but when it's like coaches and players, it's hard to argue against what a coach and a player says, because they're in the thick of it, so they understand certain things that we as fans may not. Yeah, but overall, I still think it's losing its credibility.
But I think that's part of the issue, though, babe. I think that's part of the issue, though, Conley, because like when there's like a lack of transparency in how these coaches and footballers come to their decision, you have to remember as well, football is a team-based sport. So
exactly.
Sometimes it's very hard to now say, oh, he had a better season. Like, it's easy to look at, and we all know like how football works. Like, if they put the goals in the back of the net, you know, that's always viewed as like he's the guy. But there's been a guy at centre back balling out all season, and he ain't gonna get the shine. Granted, there's been I think one or two. I think one Balon d'Or winner was a goalkeeper.
Cannavaro's won it as well once.
But then it's just. Do you see what I'm saying? So
the rest is forward, yeah.
I think that's what hurts the Balon d'Or like a lot. That we don't know how they come to their decisions, because it would be interesting to see and hear. Like, okay, I picked Messi because of this. I picked Ronaldo because of this, and because there's no kind of clear line to how that comes about, it just kind of like, you know, I'm not saying that I agree with Ronaldo, because there is a bit of, I guess, contradiction in what he's saying. I think, as David highlighted, you know, one of the seasons he won it, it should have been somewhat, you know, but you could argue other people. So, yeah, with the Ballon d'Or at the moment, man, I mean, if Dembele wins it, I think why not? You know, he like you mentioned, like he's been performing probably at the best level kind of out of anyone this year, and you know, he's won everything. So, why not? But I'm sure there's a guy that's playing somewhere else that's been balling out all season and ain't won anything, you know. So how can you now say he's not had a good season because he ain't won trophies? He's not in as good as a team as Dembele and some of these other players, but still have had a good season, you know.
Yeah, Gav, what's your take on it?
I want to start off by saying, if Saka ever wins the Balon d'Or, then I'm going to run around the whole of the West Midlands acting like it's the greatest thing that's happened to my boy child, and he's not my boy child. But with that said, I think it lost its credibility when years ago, like, was it when Nedved won it over Henry, and then you've had many others since then that it's just weird. Then you got the whole Messi Ronaldo doing one touch with the Ballon d'Or, passing between each other each year, like I think Kunde pointed out. Them awards and that, it's kind of weird. I don't really care for them too much in any field, to be honest. I don't think players should let it bother them too much. Ronaldo's take on it is funny though. I think you mentioned it as well, Dave, but I think it might be a little bit of a head nod to Real Madrid and Vinny Jr. from last year. He might be trying to stick his boot in for his options. But yeah, it's not. And I don't agree that it should come. If you are going to give it credibility, it's not going to come down to one team winning the Ballon d'Or because they won the Champions League. Because then what? Havertz could be a Ballon d'Or winner, arguably, for what he did in that final. Like, it's kind of silly. It's not always the best team in the world or in the Europe that wins the Champions League. So, yeah, I think that's a bit of a silly take. Probably a bit bitter as well. Ronaldo seems to be getting to that point in his career where he's going to start saying stuff because he's not on top anymore. So he's going to start thinking people that are eclipsing him or taking his spot, so to speak. But for me, he's still the GOAT, and he's allowed to feel how he feels, I guess. But on the talk, anyone see Big Zoo?
Yeah, I saw that.
Brother,
he scored
his goal. Yeah, bad boy. What, bro? Tevez.
Oh yeah, no, Tevez is crazy. It was a celebration though. That's what killed me, man.
Oh.
Before we end the show, I just want to get one word answers from you guys on this now, okay? I think Kunle, you've already tipped your hat as to who you think. But I'll come to you first. Who do you think deserves the Balon d'Or this year?
To me, sorry.
Yeah, Dembele. Yes.
Dembele.
Oh,
So
John.
Kunle says Dembele. John, what about
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I'm Dembele.
I agree with Conor Dembele.
Gav.
Miles Lewis Skelly.
You know,
Dembele.
Dembele.
That's it. PSG are moving crazy, and
Yeah, I see the shout for Dembele. I see the shout for is it Nuno Mendes, the left back?
yeah.
Mm-mm.
I see the shout for him as well. But my vote, I'd give it to Yamal. Let's not forget what he did with Spain as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'd give
I
it
wouldn't
to
be
him.
mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's who
if
gets my
someone
vote
went
anyway.
Yamal, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, disgrace. I wouldn't say it's like a robbery, like when Henri got robbed.
All right, guys. On that note, we're gonna end the show there. Thank you guys for joining me, and to the viewers out there, thank you for joining us this evening. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Over the Line.